Hello friends, it's Kathy Clement with Kathy by Design. Welcome to Wonderful Wednesday. This is a little tutorial series that I do here to inspire you to break into your stash of crafty goodies and make something beautiful. This is August 2025. And all this month we've been working with Simple Stories, Simple Vintage Woodlands. It's been our gentle movement toward fall. This is the last Wednesday and it's our Wind Back Wednesday. So I'm using this same collection with a design I did in August to make this beautiful little tag mini album. This is so sweet. I love this paper and I had such fun putting this together. This measures about 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. It's got a 2-inch spine, a shaker cover with really fun shaker elements. There's buttons and mushrooms and little sequins and beads. It's really, really beautiful. Some Renee bouquets, beautiful board, some of her autumn beautiful board, this really sweet leaf, and these beautiful branches. I've added in some mustard seed, this darling dangle charm with an acorn and a maple leaf. And there's another little leaf, here it is, a little glass leaf, buttons, brown leaf ribbon and copper twine. This cappuccino ribbon closure. This is from Really Reasonable Ribbon. And some handmade flowers, burlap string. Just a really fun layered up bunch of goodies. Here's the spine with more of this paper, and this is a reinforced spine, and then the back cover. So I'm going to show you how to build the album, how to add all the different elements, but the design is going to be primarily up to you. I spend the most, because it takes a while to show you how to put together all the different pages, so you get to design your own. Inside the front cover, we've got a really sweet little tag folio and a slash pocket filled with journal card elements from the paper collection. Then we have a fun little flip page. It's kind of a double tip in. Here's the first one and here's the second one with another pocket and a couple of really sweet tags tucked in there. This page flips and we've got a couple of pocket pages with oval photo mats and a mini folio. You can put photos or journaling in there. I love the colors in this collection. I love the images. It's very inspired by nature. This is a really fun flip page. One flips up, one flips down, and then when you get inside, there's a photo mat and a little mini envelope with a little tag inside so you can write a secret journaling message. And of course, there's room for photos on both the up and down pages here. This flips over and we've got a kinetic waterfall. And another kinetic waterfall, which I will show you how to build. I also show you how to do the slash pockets to create the journal base, the whole thing. And then this page flips and we've got this really adorable gatefold slider element. So you've got room for a nice photo in here, and you'll learn how to make this little gatefold slider and dress it up with our cute little fox. And then we have another slash pocket over here with a beautiful tag and room for photo or journaling on the back. So if you would like to learn how to create this precious little mini album, stay tuned because the tutorial is coming up next. Though this is a Wind Back Wednesday, I'm going to recycle a design rather than use an older paper collection. I have so much of this collection in-house and I have such a great idea. So we're going to keep working with this and we're going to remake the Bees and Butterflies tag mini album that we created in August. And I will put a link up in the corner so you can find that tutorial. I have a few little changes that I'm making this time, but the basic design is exactly the same. I'm just making it a little bit bigger and adding a few more fun features. To make this, you're going to need my Kathy by Design scalloped tag die set, which you can get from Button Farm Club. This is a 2-piece die and a liner piece. This is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. So if you don't have the tag or you don't have access to the tag, you can just cut rectangular paper and maybe use a corner shaper or something to create your own tags. This little insert is 3 3/4 by 5. I'm also using my stitched oval die. This came out with a card kit that I created. I just like this. It's a really good layering die. As you can see here, it's a great way to create fun, easy layers in your projects. I like basic dies that do lots of different things. So let me clear my desk, get set up with my equipment, and we'll get this tutorial started. To get started, you're going to need to cut 6 kraft tags. This is a nice heavy 110-pound kraft paper, and this is going to be the pages and the covers in our little tag album. I have also cut a dozen tag liners using the die. So these we'll ink these edges up and we'll just put them on either side once we get the book put together. So speaking of putting the book together, I'm going to go ahead and get started with that. Now I want to go ahead and create the spine for our little tag album, and this is a tabbed spine. It's very simple and it's a great skill to have. Once you know how to do these, you can make them all the time. So I have an 8 1/2 by 5 1/2 inch piece of the basics from this Simple Stories collection. We're going to score 1 inch and we're going to score at 7 1/2 inches. And these are going to be the little flaps that connect to our covers. And we're going to score every 1/2 inch in between. Now, if you don't have this paper, you can use any 80 to 85 pound cardstock. I find that if it's super heavy, it's a little awkward getting those pages to turn. So there we are, all scored. The next step is to fold. So we're going to skip this first 1/2 inch panel and we're going to go to this second 1/2 inch panel and we're going to pinch those 2 1/2 inch panels together. We're going to skip this panel and we're going to go to this panel, these 2 1/2 inch score lines, and pinch them together. Skip here, come to this one. So basically what you're creating is a 1/2 inch gap in between each of your pages so that you can add the embellishments that you like, so that you don't have to have a completely flat page. This gives you a lot of creative freedom. So when you flip it over, it looks like this. And you've got this little gutter in between each of these plateaus. We'll just call them valleys in between plateaus. So I'm going to take 3/8 inch score tape, and you can use whatever good, strong adhesive you like. And basically what we're going to do is put our score tape in the gutter on one side of each gutter or valley, whichever way you want to call that. So here's our plateau, here's our valley. Here's our plateau. Here's our valley. And here's our plateau. And here's our valley. And I'm just going to take a bone folder and really press or burnish this tape down onto that surface. That's what makes it really work well. And then we're going to remove our tape. I like to do this one tape at a time, but if you're super brave, you can remove them all. This is good sticky tape. So I like to do one at a time, and then I'm just going to pinch them together, just like we did when we were folding. So now we have these 4 tabs, and we have our little side wings. I like to take my bone folder and crease these tabs really well in both directions, and that ensures that our pages are going to turn nicely. So this is going to fold up, and here's my cover. All right. And I'm going to put adhesive. Actually, I'm going to do it this way. And I want this to be equidistant top and bottom. So I am going to use score tape. And I'm going to put a 3/8 inch panel on the outside edge. And another this inside edge. And I'm going to go ahead and put one in the middle too. So here's my cover. I'm going to line this up. I'm going to press that in place. See how easy that was? Then I'm going to take my back cover and I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm just making sure I'm on the same plane. And there's our little book. See that? And so we have a 1 5/8 inch spine. So I've cut a piece of my, oops, wrong piece. I've cut a piece of my cardstock to go over this. This is 4.5 by 5.5. And I want this to be 1 3/8. So I think I want to go 1. I'm just going to cheat here and use my pencil. I'm going to lay this down. Okay. I'm going to make a little pencil mark here and a little pencil mark here. And my scoring tool. So it's just about 1.5. It's just a little bit under 1.5. So I'm going to score right there. And I'm going to score right here. And this way we have 1 3/8 inch flaps on either side of this spine. I'm going to burnish these, fold in on those scored lines. All right. And here's the outside of our book. I'm going to lay it flat. I'm going to put my adhesive place these little pencil marks, even though we're going to cover this with designer paper. I want those pencil marks gone. Line that up nice and straight, press it down, and I'm going to fold it back. I'm going to put my adhesive on the middle part, and you can see how this will really strengthen the spine. And then fold this back. Now, if you're a super glue pro, you can just put all your glue down at once. But I find this works better for me. I'm less prone to make a mistake or get it crooked or any of those things that we don't want to have happen. All right. So now we've got this really pretty rounded spine, and our covers line up and we're good. All right. I decided I want to strengthen my covers even further, so I went ahead and die cut 2 additional kraft tags, and I'm just going to layer these over the inside front and back cover. And this is going to make this a really sturdy, it's almost like thin chipboard, so that's very nice. And I think it's worth it in the long run to take the extra step and do this. All right. So now we have a really nice sturdy front and back cover. All right. I'm going to prep my spines here for adding the pages. And we're only going to put our tape on one side. And anytime you're doing any kind of a tabbed album, you want to make sure that you leave a little room. You don't want to go all the way to the bottom edge because it makes it harder for the pages to turn. So I am going to put my adhesive toward the top of each of these tabs. And we'll just get our pages put in. I'm going to flip it and do the back side because we're going to cover that with patterned paper. So we might as well go ahead and do our tape now. And of course you can use liquid adhesive if you want for this. I just like using, for this I like using the score tape. So I'm going to bring in my first page. I'm going to line it up with my front cover. And then I'm just going to flip this over. All right. And we're just going to continue on down the line like this. We're coming right along. This is looking really, really good. We're going to go ahead and put our front cover together, but we're not going to glue it onto the front yet. I took this 4x6 journal card from the paper collection. I die cut a tag shape from clear acetate, and then I die cut a tag from this plaid pattern, and I put my stitched circle in it to cut the window. So we're going to glue these two pieces together. And I realize this is hard for you to see because that acetate is clear, but I'm just layering it on here and lining up the hole and the scallops on the bottom. I don't know how I always manage to get glue on the acetate, but I always do, no matter how careful I am. There we go. All right. So then I've trimmed this to 5.5 inches, and I want to position it behind here, just about like that. So I'm going to put my adhesive around the outside edges. And I'm going to use this little template that I created to help me line this up. All right, I'm going to put foam tape I'm going to keep this below that hole, the punch hole here. And I'm going to go above it here just to level it. This won't have anything to do with the shaker element. And I want to do another layer so that things have room to move. I actually ended up putting 3 rows of my foam tape on, and I put my shaker elements in the center, and I'm going to line this up over top and then press it down. And I should have left the liner on this little top piece right here, but we're okay. And look how cute that is with that little shape, those cute shakers. I put some buttons, beads, a really cute shaker mix from Picket Fence. I don't know what this is called. The name is not on it, but it's adorable. And that makes a really cute shaker, and you can still see the fox. So that's the front cover. Put this aside, and we'll come back and attach this when we get to the end. But cute, right? want to do our inside cover, and we're going to put this pretty mushroom pattern on the inside cover. We'll go ahead and get this glued down. And then I have this 4 1/4 by 5 3/4 inch piece of our brown. And I'm going to bring in, I want to make a slash pocket. This is the way I do it. Everybody does this a little bit differently. So if you have a way that you do it that you like, go ahead and do that. But I'm going to score a 1/2 inch on the left-hand side, and I'm going to turn it and score a 1/2 inch along the bottom. I'm going to cut the corner right where those lines intersect, so they look like that. And then I'm going to fold this, and I'm going to fold this. I'm going to come in with my trimmer, and I'm going to line this point up at 1, and I'm going to line this point up at 1. So you see there's that point and there's that point, and I'm going to cut, and you've got a beautiful slash pocket. So now we bring in our book. And we just glue this down. And I've left a little margin along the bottom so we get to see our scalloped edge, and a little margin along the left-hand side. And now you can just decorate that up, tuck some journal cards or whatever into the pocket. So that's that page. I want our next page to be a little flap page. So I've cut my tag, and then I used my rectangle die, and I scored this at 4 1/4, and that's our flap that's going to go back behind the tag. We're going to glue that down. On the front, I went to one of our 4 by 6 images, and I trimmed it to a height of 3 3/4 and then scored it at 4 1/4. And we're going to glue this down on the front. So we're going to have this fun little flap element here. And then, because I don't want these dueling plaids, I cut from another little piece, this little 1 5/8 by 3 3/4 inch piece. And we're just going to glue this down here. So it's like a little tip in. It's really cute. And then this flips out, and this little piece goes right in here. So that's a fun little page. And this is also a journal card. Okay. And then you can decorate this part of it with whatever, or put a photo there. So here's our page. Now we're just going to put our adhesive down. And glue this in. I've removed my tape and I'm just going to glue this page in. This page will go here. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, so I haven't glued it down. And then this page will go here. And then this is our inside back cover with, again, this pretty brown and green plaid and this pretty mushroom. And this will be another slash pocket, just like we did on the front. And this will be another little flip page. So they kind of mirror each other. And then on the back, we have the plaid that matches the front cover. But before we put these down, we want to add our ribbon. So we'll just wait on that. All right, friends, I just want to show you what I've done with some of these pages, and some of them we'll do together. But here's our slash pocket, and I cut out 2 of these tags from the 12 by 12 so that they were still joined together, and I glued the back one down. So we've got this cute little flip page, and then I just added a title from the ephemera pack. In the pocket, I took these 3 pieces from the journal card, and I love using these little ephemera tabs and stuff. It just adds that extra element, and these go in our slash pocket like that. Super simple. This is a little flip page, and then I covered the flap with just a scrap of paper and added these ephemera pieces. So it creates a little title. Isn't that fun? And then this flips out. I covered the back. These little liner pieces are 4 1/4 by 3 5/8. And then this little ephemera piece I turned into a pocket. I just added a thin bead of adhesive on the bottom and about halfway up the sides. And I put 2 more little tags in here for journal spots. All right. So that's that page. We flip the page. These are just standard pockets. I cut my kraft paper to 5 1/4 by 3, scored 1/2 inch on the sides and the bottom. You've seen me do these a million times, and then just trimmed the corners and folded and added my patterned paper. In the pockets, this is die cut with my oval, so you can do a couple of little photos here and then a little journal folio here. These are, I cut these to 6 1/4 by 4 1/4 so that the 3 by 4 images would fit nicely. So that's kind of a fun little page. And of course you can also tuck actual photos into the pocket. So same thing here, exact same thing here. And the nice thing about these smaller pieces is that you can use your scrap papers. Now, these 2 pages, super simple, super fun. I took the kraft paper that I cut out with my rectangular die. I cut a 3 3/4 by 1 inch scrap, folded it in half, glued it on the back side of the kraft paper, and then I just covered this with patterned paper. These little paper clips, I just used a label and a heart. And then this is a little envelope that I had in my stash, and I just covered it and hooked it on there with the paper clip. So inside here is a small tag where you can add secret journaling, which is really fun. And of course your photo will slip underneath the paper clip. And down here is just a photo mat with left open on the bottom so that you can slip it under there. Same thing here, just cut this, only this one flips down. So this one flips up, this one flips down. Here's our little pocket with our little tag inside, and this time the title is at the top. So it's kind of like mirror image, which is fun. Now this is the page that I want to show you how to put together. love kinetic waterfalls. So of course I had to add one to this little book, just like I did in the bees and butterflies. And basically these little guys just slip right along and your photos flip. I'll show you how easy it is to make with this design that I've come up with. So first of all, you need to cut from your scraps or whatever 2 3.5 by 5.5 inch pieces of your patterned paper. And I've chosen one of mine that has the branding strip on the top because we're going to score this, and it really doesn't ever show. So we're going to score 1, 2, 3, 4 score lines. So you're scoring at 1/2, 1, 1.5, and 2 inches. And I like to fold these back. Let me move this out of the way. I like to fold them in both directions so that they move really freely. The other thing I like to do is ink the creases because it makes it easier for me to see when I'm putting my images down. That's not, you know, I just find it helps me see and keep things straight. So that's why I do that way. All right, so we're just gonna do all along the top, okay? Now, and I'm sorry if you hear my husband in the background, he has a big voice. I'm going to fold this tab back behind. We're going to call this the bottom panel, and this with the ferns is the top panel. I'm going to flip this over. We're going to make sure we're lined up nice and straight. And I'm going to put my adhesive on the outside edge of my flap. And I'm going to be right up against it, and I'm going to fold. Okay, super simple. Now I've used patterned paper. If you want to use plain cardstock, you then need to cut little liners, unless you just don't care if it's plain cardstock. But I used my patterned paper from the collection this time. This piece is 4 1/4 because that's the width of our page by 2. And this actually adheres back behind the front flap, the top flap. So I'm just kind of eyeballing this, and I'm going to take my adhesive. Well, maybe I'm going to take my adhesive. I bet I need to refill this. Have y'all found that? I have found that if I keep this at more than half full, it just works better. So that's a little tip for you there. All right, I want this to be nice and straight. Oops, and even. Just like that. I'm going to glue that down, okay? Down here on the bottom, I'm going to make a pull tab. And for this, I've brought in a couple of my little stickers. And I'm going to put this one centered up underneath our bottom panel like that, and then this one is going to go right over the top of it like that. Okay, so now we can glue our images in. I cut 3 images from the cut apart sheet, and you're going to put your first image just underneath this crease. Yeah, this little bird. And just like that. And then you're just going to line these up and glue them down. This is such a fun way to make a waterfall, and I find it's way easier than the standard kinetic waterfall. It's just a greatly simplified design, and I like simple. Life is complicated enough. So see, just a thin bead of adhesive and then lined up. Okay. You can see I'm just below that crease without touching it. Now we bring in our book, flip this over. On the outside edges, you're going to put adhesive. You don't want to get too close to this back page, because if you do, you'll end up gluing your mechanism shut. So I'm just lining this up. I'm pressing it down. Whoops. You can use score tape if you like, because it won't jiggle like that just jiggled. And once this has set up, you can grab your little pull tab. I'm being real careful because that glue is still wet. Look how beautifully that works. All right, so that's the kinetic waterfall pages. Our last page, this plaid page, because this is just going to be another slash pocket, which I already showed you how to do. This is going to be a fun little gatefold page with a slider mechanism. So I went to my kraft cardstock and I cut out a 5 1/4 by 5 inch piece for the gates. And then the middle of 5 1/4 is 2 5/8. So I marked that, and we're going to cut this in half. We're going to bring our scoring tool in. We're going to score a 1/2 inch here. And we're going to score a 1/2 inch here. And crease these back. I'm going to glue these down on either side of my page. Now, if I hadn't already glued my page in, I would have glued these flaps back behind, but we'll fix it so that it works. Don't you worry. So I'm going to glue this one down on the left. And this one down on the right. So we're going to need to cover our little gates here. Let's see what we can put on the inside. Well, that's pretty perfect. Let's use that. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, let's go ahead and cut this to, let's go ahead and cut this to 5. Let's see, this will just cover up my goof. So that works really, really well. And then we need to cover our gates. The front of our gates, we're going to need 2 that are 2 inches by 4 7/8. And then you'll need 2 more to do the inside. And then I'll show you how to make the slider mechanism. Okay, we're going to make the slider mechanism. So I've die cut 4 of my rectangle. And one of them I'm going to leave plain. Well, two of them I'm going to leave plain. And the other two I'm going to score in half. This is 3 3/4, which is, let me see, 1 7/8 is half, I believe. I'm going to score this on both sides because I want this to bend well. All right. So crease this really well. I'm going to crease it both ways. Okay. Bring in one of your plain panels, and we're going to put adhesive on this on one side. And we're going to glue this down with the open edge on the outside and the folded edge on the inside. So it looks like this. And then we're going to take the other one and we're going to do the same thing. Then I'm going to take this piece of plain, put it over the top, and this piece of 3 3/4 by 5 patterned paper. You can use either side. Let me see, which side do I like better? I actually think I like the plain, yeah, I like the plain dot side, because what I've done is I've taken one of the ephemera pieces of this beautiful fox, okay, and I inked the edges, then I backed it with this same kraft cardstock just to strengthen it, and put a few layers of the same cardstock on the back. And this is going to be our little decoration on the front cover. I want them to go right here. And we might find a little butterfly or something. And then our little, I call these butterfly wings, open up like this. And our gatefold mechanism slips right in, and the slider holds the page closed, but when you want to open it, you just slide it up and down. You see how nice that is? So that's a really adorable page, and then you can put a nice picture on the inside. All right, the last thing to do is your slash pocket. You can do that on your own. This little book got super chunky, so I'm gonna show you how to finish the covers and the spine, and then we're done. Before we go any further, we're gonna add our ribbon closures, because that way we don't forget. So I put score tape on the front and back cover. I used my ruler to help me line it up. And I've got this really pretty cappuccino delicate stitched satin. This is really reasonable ribbon. And I'm hoping Bonnie will still have this in stock. So this is going to cut right here. And this is going to come over here. going to close my book, bring this around. I know those tails are a little long, but I would rather have them a little long than too short, because a little long you can trim, too short you're out of luck. We want to add our cover and spine at this point. So I have cut a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece from the 6 by 6 pad of this pretty sort of persimmon colored and beige floral with the mushrooms. And I had started gluing down my back cover when I realized not so fast. So we're gonna glue this up. You want to add your spine before you add your covers. And I'm giving this a lot of adhesive because the spine takes a lot of abuse. But we're going to have, I mean, this is our 3rd layer on this spine, so it's pretty thick and pretty well protected. So I'm going to tuck this in just like this. Oops. And I've got a little bit of the kraft showing above and below. I'm just going to wrap this around, and then I'm going to glue my back cover on. Okay, that looks good with that plaid. So now we're going to add our front cover. I recovered that foam tape from making the shaker, and I'm going to just add a little adhesive here too. There we go. All right, so now all you have to do is embellish your cover. If you want to add a dangle charm up here, which I do, I'm going to do that. In this back slash pocket, I took this tag from the big bits and pieces, backed it with some kraft paper, add a little button, some of my leaf ribbon, and some copper twine, which looks really pretty with this paper collection. So that's the basics. I'm going to finish up my cover because this tutorial is getting really long, and then I'll come back and show you the cover. All right, friends, here we are all finished up. I love the way this little journal turned out. It is so precious. So on the cover, I added some Renee Bouquet's beautiful board. These are her autumn leaves, and I just colored them up with some distress inks and then spritzed them with water. I added some little mustard seeds in between just to add a bit of texture and visual interest. I've got a little dangle charm up here with an acorn and a couple of leaves, a little ribbon topper with copper twine and leaf ribbon and a sparkly button, a graphic 45 brass key. Here's some more Renee Bouquet's beautiful board. I think this is her layered autumn leaves, and I also colored this up with distress inks and then spritzed it with a little bit of glimmer mist. Some little button cluster. On this acorn, I added glossy accents, a peppercorn, and some mustard seeds. These are handmade flowers that I had in my stash left over from last year, and they worked so well, I went ahead and put them in. I layered from the ephemera pack the fern, these mushrooms, added a couple stick pins, and a little burlap string bow, also burlap string bow up here. So I love the way the cover turned out. It is so warm and inviting. I hope the camera picks up the colors and the glare is not too bad off of the shaker. Here's our spine. Here's our back cover, and I just trimmed down this ephemera piece to fit on the back so you could label it or whatever. So that is our Wineback Wednesday project for this last week in August 2025. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear your comments in the comments section. I will put a linked supply list on my blog and a link to my blog in the description box below this video. So if you need any of these supplies, you can find them. Renee Bouquets is on vacation for a couple of more weeks, but you can place an order now and it will go into the queue and be fulfilled as quickly as possible. Let me see what else. I'll be back next week, which starts our September with Simple Stories, Autumn Breeze, which is just so beautiful. They did such a great job with that collection, and it will be our tag of the month. So I'm super excited to get going with that. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. There's a photo array when the video is finished, so you can see, stop it, pause it, study the photos when you're making your version of this album. And that's it for me, Kathy Clement, Kathy by Design. Go get your craft done. Bye, friends.